That's the fiscal part.
That's the fiscal part, exactly.
Has got to back up some of those monetary policies.
So the truth about this is that we need to have a coordinated approach to this thing. And I'm telling you, I think we will win it. Because what is, I think, panicking people now is their livelihoods. People are not, they're uncertain about what's going to happen. So I want to buy certain goods that I'm selling here. Now I can't even transfer $7,000. To the guy. So it's having an effect.
And these are not the ones that are talking about $100,000.
Precisely. So for me, I think that the change cannot be violent. We have to try to manage this thing out. We have to come up with, and I think the private sector has a role to play. For instance, asset managers. Asset managers should be able to come up with products, right, that can be able to address some of these issues. Why? They have clients abroad who have, of course, foreign currency. Okay, and now we have a conundrum of cash here. Right? We have over $1 billion in bank vaults. So can't we do some kind of asset substitution in terms of the dollar cash offshore with the naira, with the dollar here, and there are investors who want to invest either in our in our treasuries or so that we could swap that. And
let's even bring in the role of the banks.
Okay.
How do they help in this kind of scenario? Because much as people will tell you, look, if you can access credit on a long term, everything is on a short term, and so it puts pressure even on the average person there who ordinarily would have relaxed if the banks give them that leeway to, and then look at the interest rates also killing.
Yes. Well, the truth is that the banks are playing within an environment that they are not totally in control of. Inflation is 9.2. The MPR is, I think, 13%. So you can see even the standing facility window, I think, with the central bank, I think it's 15. So it shows you even government yields at 15.4. So if government treasuries are selling at 15.4, I mean, what do you want the bank to do, really? The bank can't lend below that. The banks, any corporation's rating can probably not be better than the sovereign rating of the country in which it's operating. So the truth is that the banks, their hands are tied in a way. And don't forget, bank money or deposits or credit is not meant to actually start businesses. It is meant to support businesses. So it is capital. And it is the capital market that should raise money for people to go into business. The banks will now support that by giving you additional credit. But a bank cannot speculate. No matter how good I think you guys are, and you come up with a business venture, right? I cannot just give you depositors money because I'm not sure it will work. I need to get some traction from you. I need to see that you can do this. It's only after you've done it, then I come in.
So how then did banks get themselves with those chronic debtors who wouldn't pay, and now those names?
Yes, in fact, those are also fundamental issues, because I don't know what the percentage of bad debt to the total portfolio is now. I know it's normally supposed to be about not more than 5% or something. I don't know what it is now, but it seems like we are going back to 5 years ago, just after AMCON, which is still fresh in our memory. Almost 3 trillion of Nigerian sovereign wealth pumped into that. And that's what the IMF said then, if I remember well, about AMCON. They said AMCON presents a moral hazard, because if somebody does something and didn't do it right, you come out and you take up his mess, right? And he goes away free. The likelihood of him doing it again is high. So the question we need to ask is that, what happened to the improved risk management framework of banks? Right? Because I believe after the meltdown, a lot of risk management was, even the central bank governor at the time, who was a risk management expert, focused more on that. So I think that what it tells us is that we still have a larger problem in terms of analysis from the banks, in terms of probably some kind of, will I say, I don't want to use a word that's too strong, but maybe there's some connivance, because, for instance, you look at some credits, the way it's some of them go bad. You marvel really at. I mean, was there a risk management guy that analyzed this credit?
So you think ordinarily some of those loans given ought not to have been given to the people who they gave it to?
Clearly.
Can we really say that the banks got away with it free, considering the fact that, quite a number of investors lost their money in those banks. I mean, shareholders, their shares were significantly, if not totally eroded. The so-called owners of the banks, lost their jobs. Some of them had to serve jail terms. And we've also seen how the banks have evolved over time. AMCON took them over, chased the debtors. In most cases, were able to, I think that today they're getting some commendation in terms of how they were able to run transparent operations. Can we really say that, the way, a manner the CBN and AMCON went about it, they really went away with it, without, I mean, the people who ruined those banks went away without paying for it?
I think that's very debatable in the sense that, if somebody says the banks, they were able to, properly do, I think AMCON was a good idea, in terms of at least trying to prevent the economy from totally going comatose. But I think also maybe the way and manner certain things were done then, they helped in really putting a lot of what's the word I'll use? People didn't trust the capital market anymore, right? And that's why you've had that law really in the capital market. So yes, depositors got their money, but the shareholders lost theirs. But the shareholders, even though their capital is risk capital, more or less, so they should be ready to lose their money. But the truth is that they were not managing those banks. They were minority shareholders. And I think what we need to go and investigate to find out about this is, who are the majority shareholders? Where are those people right now? Did those people really lose? That is when we will know whether those policies really worked.
This entire thing, the question I was asking is, we looked at bad debts,
Yes.
Debt owed to banks, and we look at the dollarization of the economy and the attack, the efforts of the CBN to mop it all up.
Yes.
We look at liquidity issues. Now, the question I want to ask is, do we have our policies right, properly aligned, streamlined, and then properly implemented? Economic policies, fiscal policies, are they right the way they are now?
Well, the straight answer for me would be no, right? But what I would now add is that I think Nigeria has a plethora of policies. I mean, we've done so many. I'm sure we've all lost count, right? And many of those policies are pretty good, pretty sound. If you recall the Soludo era as central bank governor, Soludo was able to, curb inflation, reduce the rate of interest, increase the value of the naira.
If it was so good,
and
what
improve
happened?
Employment. So why? Because there was an economic team in place who could see a bird's eye view. So monetary policy, fiscal policy were in tandem. They were working together. That is a clear example, and under very strong political leadership. Under that circumstance, Nigeria got debt relief. Not because we deserved it, but because we worked towards it. So for me, I think clearly we have the policies, right? But we're not using them, and we're not coordinated. You understand? So that is why we seem to be running around like headless chickens. That's why.
But I'm just wondering this last bit now, because part of the statement put out by the CBN, signed by the Director of Communication, is that policy, this forex management one, was also introduced partly to check the amount of illicit funds that flow through our system. And then I wonder, what happens to all the money laundering law, anti-money laundering laws that we've got in this country, which the banks are supposed to be whistleblowing to the FCC, even CBN? Does that mean all of that didn't work?
Yeah, I think that's a self. That statement itself by the CBN for me is implicating, because what it means is that the banks that they are regulating are flouting their laws, because I think Nigeria has gradually tried to crowd people into the financial system. The bank verification, we have seen that it's a positive thing that can work. And all that. I know they even recently introduced it even for bureau de change. They're saying that if you sell money to somebody, you need to get the person's BVN. You understand? So things like that show that we are gradually. So for them to say that also, well, maybe they have more information, than we do. But I find that a bit funny.
All right, so that's all I had to anchor today. Thank you very much indeed for coming on. Gochi Lennon is the managing partner, Praetorian Capital Partnerships Limited.